Loving God, we are grateful for the enlightenment we receive from the reading of your word. Grant, O God, that as we consider them more deeply, the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts might be acceptable in your sight. Amen. There are in our world people who are invisible. Ralph Ellison, an African-American author, wrote about this in his novel, Invisible Man, published in 1952. It was a groundbreaking book, exploring the subject of racism in an extraordinarily brave way for the time. In the novel, Ellison described the plight of black people in the United States. I am, the novel begins, an invisible man. I am a man of substance, of flesh and bone, and I might even be said to possess a mind. I am invisible, understand, simply because people refuse to see. When they approach me, they see only my surroundings, themselves, or figments of their imagination. Indeed, everything except me. I am invisible, and I remember to walk softly so as not to awaken the sleeping ones. Despite his stated desire to remain invisible to the world around him so as not to catch the perilous world of the racist society he inhabited, the protagonist admits to occasional attention-grabbing outbursts, desperate to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be recognized as real. Mr. Ellison wrote, "You ache with the need to convince yourself that you do exist in the real world, that you are part of all the sound and anguish, and you strike out with your fists, you curse and you swear to make them recognize you. And alas, it's seldom successful." In today's gospel lesson, a marvelous and disturbing story narrated by Mark, we are confronted quite directly with the condition of invisibility. A woman came to Jesus with a desperate need. Her daughter was demonically ill. She believed that Jesus could help. The encounter between them was an uneasy one. The gospel writer Mark identified her as a woman of Syro-Phoenician origin. That is, she was a Gentile, not one of the children of Israel. She was lesser. She was other. She was on the wrong side of the racial barrier. She was from the wrong side of the tracks. Now, Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, tells the same story in greater detail. In Matthew's version, Jesus ignored the woman's cries for quite a while. He simply acted as though she was not there. The disciples besought Jesus to send her away. She was bothering them. And then Jesus spoke more to the disciples than to the woman, talking about her rather than to her, those same words that we heard today in Mark's Gospel, words that so trouble Christian ears and hearts. We can hardly believe what Jesus said. It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. Theologians and Bible scholars over the centuries have tried to soften the impact of Jesus' words here. Some say that Jesus was testing the woman. Others claim that Jesus was just teasing, that in the original Greek, the word that we translate as dogs is actually the word for puppies. So he was being playful. These arguments have always struck me as thin rationalizations. They neither soften the harshness of Jesus' refusal to help this woman, nor the sting from his words. The woman was, for all intents and purposes, invisible. And yet, she took that metaphor that Jesus slapped her with and spun it out. Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. This woman did not accept the condition of her invisibility. This desperate Gentile mother, a scriptural nobody, dared to tell the Son of God to think again. And he did. The Reverend Dr. Gene Sledham, a United Church of Christ minister and theologian, commented that this Syrophoenician woman is the only person in the New Testament to match wits with Jesus and win. And so Jesus turned his eyes toward this woman, and he actually saw her. Her invisibility gave way to the solidity of human flesh and bone and needs and cares. And Jesus changed his mind. I know that's hard to get back your heads around. Jesus changed his mind. And in changing his mind, he changed the course of his whole ministry. The Reverend Dr. Barbara Brown Taylor wrote of this passage. You can hear the wheels of history turn in this passage. Jesus is no longer a Messiah called only to the lost sheep of Israel, but God's chosen Redeemer of the whole world. And this is very important to us personally. Because when Jesus saw this woman, he also saw that if we realize that God's mercy embraces those who are considered outsiders. When the Syrophoenician woman pleaded for her daughter, she was pleading for us, for you and me. And that is why we Gentiles, we outsiders, can be here in this church today. So, if Jesus opened himself to the whole world in mission, then the church is open to the whole world in mission as well. Invisible people are everywhere. A few of them, like this Syrophoenician woman, beat on the doors of the churches, demanding that we remove our hands from our eyes and see them. But some are more like the other person that Jesus healed in this morning's passage. Unable to speak up, unable to come to us and demand to be seen. It is we who must go to them as Jesus has come to us. Our love, our outreach, our acceptance of others without any precondition is founded upon the truth that God loved us before ever we loved God. God first reached out to us. God first accepted us unconditionally. And as God has so loved us, so we are called by God to love others. Have courage. Take hold of what is good. Widen the embrace of our love. Support the weak. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Honor all people. And for Jesus' sake, keep looking for ways to open up the church and make the invisible visible. Thanks be to God. Let's join together in the singing of hymn number 388, Help Us Accept Each Other. Let's sing verses 1, 2, and 4 only, please. All who are able are invited.